Today's guest is David Barron, a clinical hypnotist with over 25,000 hours of experience helping people make real change. He's the creator of a mind transforming system that installs what he calls a mental AI to help people live better, smarter, and more intentionally. He's also written over a dozen books on mind control and hypnosis under the pen name D'Italian Jones. So, whether you want to break habits, build new identity, or unlock peak performance, David is here to show us what the mind is truly capable of. David, welcome to APE.
It's my pleasure. I've been really excited to do this, and so let's get on this.
Yeah, there's so much here to unpack, and we talked a little bit off camera
hmm
here about some of the topics, and you are a wealth of knowledge and experience. Um, I think first, let's just a brief history on who you are and how you got into mind control.
Okay. Yeah. This is this story I tell it often, which is my first exposure to hypnosis was when I was at the Twin Falls County Fair in Filer, Idaho, and I must have been 10 years old. And I saw the hypnotist there at the county fair, and I thought, hey, he's cool. He's got his stuff together and he's controlling people. I want that. So
Yeah, who doesn't?
that's a what 10-year-old doesn't want that quality of power.
Yeah.
So that's set in my mind. And so uh, from that time on and off, I would study, be curious about hypnosis. And it was around 90, 94, 95 or something like that. I got much more serious about it. I met some people who messed with my head and rekindled that interest. And so I I started studying it in it was April. I remember it was April of 1999 because that was when the shootings at the high school happened. That's when I started my first hypnosis business, and I just decided to not give up. It was I don't encourage anybody to do the way I did it, which is you get a little bit of money from people, you go to a place you're unfamiliar with, you start a business, and you wake up sweating in the middle of the night, wondering if if you're going to survive. That's what it was like when I started. And early on, what I was very lucky. I did connect with one of my clients was a lady who ran a nonprofit organization that helped people who were unhoused. And so they did transitional housing. And she said, you've helped me so much. I have so many clients you could help. And so I worked with them for several years. And that that sort of started it off. Uh, and that was me in San Jose, California. Then I moved to New Hampshire and did that for several years. My life changed. I still have my business in New Hampshire, but I've moved to now right on the border of Idaho and Oregon. So it goes back and forth, but I'm much more stable now and very grateful for it.
Well, with over 25,000 hours, man, that's had to, I mean, I can't even imagine. They say you've mastered something when after 10,000 hours. Do you feel like you've mastered it, or do you feel like there's still so much more to learn?
Uh, there are some things I'm good at, um, and I'm very familiar with them. That's why I'm good at it. But no one ever really masters anything. I the other day I did a recording, and then I transcribed it and I read it back and I started to cry because it was such a good hypnosis process. Uh, so I'm still, I'm still learning. And I think there's really no mastery is not really a very good word because it implies that you can't grow. And
Uh,
with this sort of stuff, there's always something further out there. I mean, you and I are familiar with Chase Hughes, and my
yeah.
familiarity with him and his stuff, his ability to do tradecraft and to help people in the shortest amount of time really has piqued my interest. So I'm implementing as much as I can with in my business with that.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in that and get back to Chase
Yeah.
because there's a lot of stuff to talk about there too. The
Hmm.
what I guess the to kind of transition, what do you or how do you think people should or their perception of hypnosis or mind control? Uh,
Hmm.
like, is there a gray area? Is it one or the other? Are they the same? Like what, because I think a lot of folks, especially
Yeah.
with me, when I'm talking to people and they say, "Oh, you're studying persuasion influence," you're talking to these folks that say they're in psyops and mind control.
Hmm.
It's always in a negative association. And
Right.
I'm like, no, it's actually very positive, like you said, because change can happen faster.
Yeah.
You have a ton more experience than I do. What is your take on that?
Well, mind control and hypnosis, if there's a Venn diagram, there's this part where they overlap, most certainly. Um, Hypnosis is largely and almost, but not entirely, consensual. So it's consensual. There's agreement from the start what needs to take place, and that's where you sort of take the foothold. But you are asking people to manipulate thoughts. You're asking them to focus on things they wouldn't know how to focus on or they wouldn't consider focusing on. You're asking them to change their focus on certain things. And going through this process, the end result is they come out and they're weirdly different. It's like I, I have an intake form and I have a section of my notes where it says wow. And when they open their eyes and they say wow, I check that off. Okay, I got the wow. So yeah, they're different at the end of this, but it is also something they consented to. Mind control can go in all sorts of different directions.
Yeah, 'cause-
I, studying how people get information from someone who should not give them this information, studying how to covertly have someone betray their country. Very amazing sort of tactics.
yeah,
Um, not all of them are useful in everyday experience, but man, if you know it, it's a great tool in your tool belt.
yeah, it works.
Mhm. So
It
that
works
that's
for
sort of the difference between hypnosis and mind control.
the when you're talking about your when patients, the intake forms and like even before the patients come in, how important is it to gather as much information about a potential client or like, we were talking about
Hmm.
espionage, but how important is it to just be the observer and gather that information?
Yeah. Again, thanks to what I've learned, most of the useful information I can get in a conversation. And during that conversation, I also have to build expectancy. I have to have them understand this quality of focus. And there are some wonderful tricks I'm happy to share about how to build expectancy and things like
I
that.
love, yeah,
Um, yeah. Well, I mean, one of the first things that I tell people is I tell them uh, what it's going to be like. We'll do this process. I sort of explain the process, and this is in the phone call when they're calling. And I say at the end of the session, I'll ask you to try and bring back the problem, and it's going to be weird, and it won't be there. And if it's there, I'm not going to charge you anything. So now I've built the expectancy up.
okay, yeah,
And once they agree to make an appointment, one of the last things I tell them is, you'll look back on this and know you did something great. And often they'll just say, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I got, okay, expectancy, check. So that's one of the best ways of doing it. And, you know, you wouldn't notice it if you weren't looking for it,
yeah.
which is the covert stuff. This is, again, stuff I've learned from Chase and things like that.
Yeah, those embedded commands and that covert hypnosis. I know. I know he reached out to you when he was writing the Ellipsis manual, and
Hmm.
yeah, there's a little bit in there. It's a great book too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one of the best. I wish I could top it, but I don't think I'm
I don't
yet
know.
there.
Yours is pretty good, and there, I know Chase. Like I said, when we talked the other day, I know Chase has really respected a lot of your knowledge and experience, and as he's talked about it through the years. But
Mm.
your this is their Mind Control 101 is one of my favorites, and
Oh, good.
say it's a fan of a lot of folks. One of the other guys in this community that is known for his. He's across the pond, and he's known in the spy community. It was one of the first books he
Okay.
read, and he was very pumped about it. So you got a lot of secret fans out there, man.
Okay. Okay. Well, one of the things I did, one of the things that motivated me to do my favorite one is mind control language patterns. And I had been doing hypnosis and studying NLP for maybe 10, 15 years. And I started to try to itemize all of the language patterns that I knew. And I realized unless I write them down, I'm not going to know what I know. And so I just started to, my objective was to write down the language patterns and explain them in as simple a way as possible so it's understandable to someone reading it. And I'm impressed that people have actually said, I really understand what you're describing in this. So I did my job there. Um, and Mind Control 101, that was crazy. It was a long time ago too.
But
I'm
still
glad
one of the
it's
best.
inspired a lot of people.
And yeah, and it was tough to find, early on when I was looking
Oh
for it,
yeah,
but it
yeah,
was like it was like a top secret book.
excellent.
Uh, but yeah, it's great. The we're talking about hypnosis and making change, and I know you have a way of installing almost an AI user
Hmm.
uh, into clients. You want to touch on that a little bit because that sounds pretty interesting.
Uh, that's pretty far out there. It's not something I have gotten to test a huge amount. I can tell you a part of it though. A part of it is the first of all, if you've talked to a bunch of hypnotists, they all have a particular process that they use to say help someone quit smoking or help when someone build confidence. And what has evolved through what I'm doing is that people make people make changes because of the emotions that they feel. And so my objective is to help them find a feeling or an emotion that makes them feel so good and makes them feel so good about themselves. Making that change becomes simple, easy, and even obvious. So I'll ask someone, for example, what's it like to crave a cigarette? And then I'll say, what would be a feeling that would make you feel so good you couldn't care about a craving? And it could be, the love of my child. It could be a sense of confidence, a feeling of self-esteem. And my very first hypnosis process I do with them is about building that up so strong and making it so present. It's within their control and it doesn't leave them. And so once they go through that, their eyes open, they go, wow, they get that wow again. And I tell them to try and think of the cigarette. And again, I totally acknowledge mine is sort of unique. Some people I've worked with one of my hypnosis mentors. All he really did is put them in hypnosis and talk to the subconscious mind and say, now you're doing this differently. And it got results. So, and someone will just tell you a funny story about being on the beach. And then I've heard another hypnotist had them create the character that is the smoker.
Hmm.
And the person described this process to me, said, my smoker was this guy in a tuxedo and had a red cravat and stood really tall. And then I had him say goodbye to all the people that were in there and knowing that he was going to leave. And it got really emotional for me. And at the end, he was gone and I didn't want to smoke anymore. And I'm thinking, that's a really good hypnosis process. But what it comes down to is uh, hypnosis is really helping someone create such an intense focus that whatever you help them imagine feels absolutely true for them. And once you've got that, you could just say, you don't smoke anymore. It's silly. It's stupid. Stop. And I've done that occasionally. And sometimes it's worked. Yeah.
You mentioned something there about the creating that identity.
Mm-hmm.
How important is identity to an individual? What when it comes to change and maybe even beliefs? What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
Yeah. It's very important. The whole, while I'll work with somebody, say, over a course of 3 sessions, the first session, I give them this resource, this emotional resource, but the other sessions are about building this sense of self of who they are and making it so they remember what they used to do and how they used to behave, but they don't feel like that person anymore. And this this came about in me years ago when I used to smoke. And I used to smoke, and I totally admit it provided me certain comforts, but I also didn't want to smoke anymore. And I had quit so many times. The last time I quit, I decided that as much as I might want a cigarette, I don't want to be a smoker. And so if I wanted a cigarette, I would say the words, I am not that person anymore. And if, by God, if those words didn't make my chest puff out and make me stand a little bit taller and feel really good, and yeah, I might have wanted that cigarette, but I didn't care. I'm not that person anymore. And so I've worked that into the hypnosis process so that they see themselves differently. And even more than that, they look at their former selves differently, as if it were a distant memory. And
Yeah,
so that's essentially changing their sense of identity.
and that's huge because what do they say? Identity drags behavior. You
Yeah.
change the identity, you're changing behaviors, right? Is that
Oh yeah. Once you get someone to make an identity agreement, I mean, you know this.
yeah.
Once they say,
Yep.
"Are you a patriot?" Yes. Well, good. I've got something patriotic for you to do. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
very easy.
That yeah, that's I know we could go so down so many rabbit holes and this and that, but
Yeah.
I I think like I was saying earlier, I wish there was a simpler way to explain this to the masses so they could become aware of what's happening. Just
Hmm.
and not conspiracies and not political, but just open your eyes a little bit and become aware of how your identity is changing when you agree to this or agree to
Yeah.
that side or this. um, and life doesn't have to be that
Yeah.
I guess challenging maybe or I don't know what the word is, but just doesn't have to be. It could be a little bit easier, you know.
Yeah. Once someone starts to identify with a social group or an organization or a tribe, and they start to see, well, I am this person, um, they start to solidify that. And so, yeah, I wish it were easier, but I think one of the best ways to do it is unfortunately it takes instruction. You have to
Yeah,
say, you know, let's point out, you're agreeing to this because you agreed that you're this kind of person. That's not good, that's not bad, but you agreed you're this kind of person, and that leads you down an entire path. And
yeah,
just if you can bring your awareness to it, things change. And I've noticed that my compassion toward people that I don't agree with politically has improved incredibly well, uh,
yeah.
just by recognizing that.
I totally agree. I think it's helped me see the world totally different where feelings and opinions stay out of it. It's more just facts for me. It's, like you said, that they bought into that, and that's the tribe they need to be a part of because that's where they feel the safest.
Yeah.
I know that. So if I want to interact with them, my job is to make them feel safe
Yeah.
and have a more, just a better connection and move
Hmm.
on. You know,
Right.
yeah, it does help. It helps a lot. Helps a
Yeah.
lot. Uh, and speaking of identity and tribes and groups, you also you use hypnosis for athletes too. Uh, what does
Yeah.
that look? Yeah, what is that about?
Athletes and performers are the most incredible hypnosis subjects because first of all, they already have a sense of focus, and they generally have some very good positive experiences that they can rely upon. So, for example, if you get someone who is like a golfer who's having the yips, it's where they sort of make a swing and their knee
Yeah,
buckles, but it
like
buckles consistently every time.
like 10 cup.
Yeah, yeah. What happens is I can have them recall when they were able to perform really well and notice in their memory, and again, through really focused attention, really practice this feeling and memorize it. Um, and then practice it in all sorts of situations mentally. And just by telling them to do this mentally and practicing it with that quality of focus, they have the feeling with them, and it's there wherever they go. One of the things years ago that really lit a fire under me is I have been a bodybuilder all of my adult life. So go to the gym and work out. Not that you can tell me, look at me now and I'm dressed and see I have big muscles, but I have had big muscles. And in the past, I sat down with a fellow who did some neurolinguistic programming. And I said, okay, well, I want you to help me focus on my weightlifting. And in about a 20-minute conversation, we both were sitting at a coffee table in a restaurant. Man, he had me locked in. And for about 6 months, I had nothing but gains. It was
Wow,
just crazy. Yeah.
you got the wow factor out of me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so I would just do this process in my head, and all of a sudden things would move, and I would notice, oh, this is a personal best. Okay, this is great. So, yeah, athletes are incredible. They're usually very easy to work with, actors as well. So, all sorts of people who have to perform to a standard, who do this intentionally and professionally, they're great to work with. I just love them.
Sounds like discipline plays a big part in that too.
Yeah,
A big help.
very
You,
much, very much.
you'd mentioned NLP a few times.
Hmm.
Are there differences, or again, is it same differences?
Well, again, in that Venn diagram, there's an
Yeah,
overlap, and NLP is definitely a little more on the mind control side because you can do a lot of this very covertly. But the essence of neurolinguistic programming, to anyone who asks me anyway, is that it's about changing how we represent things in our mind. And we can do it very conversationally. The best example is you know exactly what it's like when you want a hamburger and you have this picture of a hamburger in your head. And I'll just describe it. It's it's a huge, it takes up the entire screen and it's well lit on a black background and it's rotating. And you can see the light glistening off the lettuce and the fat. And so now you've made this picture in your mind, and notice what happens when you just take the color and bleed the color out of it, and all it is black and white. And notice how that changes your feeling toward it. Now, if I made that permanent, that would probably be your permanent response to hamburgers. But yeah, I'm just giving this as a demonstration.
Oh
That's how
yeah,
easy it is to
I
demonstrate.
could feel it.
Yeah,
That's the,
yeah,
I felt it come run through. Like
yeah,
it was, I felt, yeah, I was a little sad.
yeah. It can have some dramatic effects, and that's just one of. It's a good example of what NLP can do. Let's see. I'm trying to remember again. I've learned so much for so long. I've forgotten most of it. It seems like, but neurolinguistic programming is about understanding how individuals and people in general internally represent the world. And when you make those changes, you can get changes from them.
It makes a lot of sense.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I don't know if this is 100% true now, but with NLP with Bandler, but were they inspired by the Ericksonian style of?
Yeah, that's how I understand it. Yeah.
Is that
You've got these professors of mathematics in Palo Alto, California, who have nothing but tenure and time. And so they think, okay, I'm going to find out why these guys work so well. And so they study Richard Bandler and Satir, and they make notes. And, um, you know, Bandler was a mathematician, but he thought, okay, this is interesting. And
yeah,
um, and it is a very fascinating, they were able to document what he was able to do. And they did it in a really amazing way. So that other people could consistently reproduce it.
yeah. I know a lot of the folks in this realm of they refer to NLP or Bandler a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
and we keep kind of saying it all kind of comes together. The circles touch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you probably have to dabble in a little bit of all of it to understand truly what's going on,
Yeah.
or to make that change and to be effective
Yeah.
in this.
Let me teach you and whoever's listening here a really amazing conversational change process. May take some details, so you will have to pay attention here.
Yeah,
Okay. It has to do with how we talk about things either in the present tense, the past tense, and the future tense. It has to do with how we distinguish between the pronouns this, which means really close, and that, which means over there. Okay. So when you're talking with somebody and they're talking about a problem that they have, what I would ask them is, what would be a better response? What would be a better feeling? Let's say they're frustrated, they've had a tough day, they're feeling a little down, and they just want to let it go and have some sort of, we'll call it peace of mind, some ease. Okay. So we have the problem state, we have the solution state, which is, here's their, we'll call it a sense of burden, and here's a sense of peace. Okay. So the conversation goes like this. So you have this sense of burden, and you can feel it. And I use the word this, and I say, with that sense of burden, it definitely has an effect on you. You can even remember back when you used to feel this burden, and that burden would hold you back and stop. You remember that. So now I've put the burden back in time. But you remember what peace is like. So I'm reaching back in time and remembering this sense of peace. You remember how peace used to just sort of overtake you and fill you. That peace, it's always there. And when you take this peace, now I'm speaking about it this as opposed to that, so it's closer. When you take this peace and you feel it, it definitely changes. And with this piece, now you can feel entirely different, don't you? And now, so you've taken the burden and you've put it far away and back in time, and you've reached from back in time to peace and brought back this feeling of peace. The language pattern, this is a Bandler thing. The language pattern to seal it in place is a little confusing, but it works really well. It is, what would it be like at that time in the future, right now, when you would have felt that burden, but now all you feel is peace? That feels good, doesn't it? And that's how you lock it in place linguistically.
It definitely felt better than the hamburger color fading.
Yeah, exactly. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so that's a very brief description. If you go to mind control language patterns, it's also I call it also the emotional switch, and I use that to sort of get people in a much better, more prepared and receptive mood when I'm working with them. And I have that. It's go to mindcontrolpublishing.com. It's one of the products I have there.
Awesome.
And
Yeah,
I've
I'll put
talked
all
about
that.
it on YouTube. So
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
gonna put all
find
that
it.
in there so everyone can find it. But
Okay.
oh man, that felt way better than the hamburger. That the hamburger one, I'm still that got me because that I've I know that I know what's happening, but it's still like
Oh
when
yeah.
you when the colors faded, like I felt I just it was sad because I could see the
Yeah.
gray.
Yeah. You wouldn't
Oh
want it.
man, yeah, no. So I'm glad you brought
Now
me out of that. But
now do the same thing for someone who wants to smoke a cigarette. You know?
yeah,
Think of that
ah,
cigarette. And now, imagine you're picking it up out of your pack of cigarettes and it's covered in feces.
mm,
You know, would you want
yeah,
that?
hell, yeah, no,
No, not really.
not at all, not at all.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I forgot. I was going to say something. I totally forgot what I was going to say.
Oh,
Oh, regression. You were talking about
mhm.
pulling back, and one, how important is regression to making some of that change? And um, I know a little bit about it because I've spent a lot of time
Mhm.
researching into it and reading the folks that have done a lot of regression. But
Yeah.
is it? I guess what I'm one, how important is it for change? But two, is it something that is as scary as like what you would see on TV when they
Hmm.
take people
Okay.
back and they're being? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Uh, For the basic stuff that I do, help people overcome anxiety, help them change habits and quit smoking and things like that. I don't need regression. I can just help them create a really positive feeling, make it feel so good. They don't have this habit anymore. So that's for me. Now, every hypnotist is different. I think I said that earlier.
Yeah.
There are hypnotists who rely on regression. They call it returning to an initial sensitizing event. And the theory behind that is for anything that we've developed as a deeply ingrained habit or almost an addiction or a weakness, it's usually the result of an event early in life. Like, for example, if you think of a phobia, there's a tendency that a phobia was sensitized very early in life, but it didn't become activated until later. So the example that I once used is I had this lady who was afraid of heights, and it was annoying when she had to climb a ladder to paint something. We did a regression, and in her mind, she was able to go back to a time she was in her high chair and she started rocking and it tipped over.
Oh wow.
Now, she didn't have this fear until sometime later in life where it got activated. But once we did this and we had her go back to that event, she doesn't have the fear anymore. Now, that's just one way of dealing with it. I personally don't like doing regression. I call it psychological archaeology. Go back and let's find that trauma. Let's look at it. And for some people, it's okay. For a hypnotist like me, it's uncomfortable to watch someone meet their abuser and cry.
Yeah.
And then ultimately you hope they're going to do the right thing, which is forgive their abuser, not because the abuser needs forgiveness, but because they need to not carry that weight anymore. That's the objective and the goal and the ideal when you do a regression of that kind. But you're taking something that's painful. I would personally not. And I'm not even sure it's necessary.
Yeah, I had I just through self work and understanding humans a little bit better now. But
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about identity earlier and regression, and I had this just I don't know. I think for me, I've been I've been hypnotized a few times, and obviously through Chase's work and some of the other folks that we meet, like it's conversational hypnosis. But I think it's brought
Mm-hmm.
a lot to awareness with me. And one of the things that came up recently is we talk a lot about identities with Chase, and I are in values and needs. Well, I've always had this need to be recognized. Don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I need so much recognition. I think it's very common that people need that, but I've had it and I just not wasn't sure what to do with it. And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
driving the other day and I'm like, I had a very, very close relationship with my grandfather, and my grandfather passed away when I was 12. And then we were really, really close. But when he passed away, no one recognized the relationship that I had with him. No one recognized how important it was. And not
Wow.
that I don't think it wasn't because no one cared. It was just, I don't think they understood maybe how important it was or how much it meant to me. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm 12. I don't think I would have been able to say anything. But I got to thinking, I said, I think I've carried that with me my whole life. And that's a lot of reason why I feel that need to be recognized. I'm looking at everybody like they're the other people that haven't recognized my relationship with my grandfather.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I was like, man, that hit me hard. And I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then I go into, well, how can I explain that to somebody else to help them through a moment to where they are? You kind of meet them where they are and help them see that something that far back can actually
Yeah.
still be affecting you. And I know that's a lot of what you can do
Mm-hmm.
in hypnosis, and a lot of what we can do in our abilities to understand other humans. But that was a big one for me. And I was like, wow, that was kind of like my own wow moment. I'm like, good job, man. Kind of fist bump myself.
Yeah. When we have those insights, I think one of the things it does that's really valuable is it creates this humility that you realize I have a personal experience of what it's like, and other
Yeah.
people have no idea. And now
Yeah.
we have this world full of 8 billion people, and they're all having their own little pains and their own little sufferings. And when you sit down with them, maybe it's explaining your story, but also just having them recognize that we're all suffering in some way, and we're all trying to pretend like it's not real,
Yeah. Yeah.
and get the all the necessary social approvals so that we feel like we're whole and complete. And it's very humbling, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
makes
It
you look at
was.
those people that you would hate
Hmm.
an entirely different perspective.
Yeah. Just like we said earlier, it helps
Mm-hmm.
you, just helps you understand it. And yeah, yeah, that was a big one for sure.
Wow, that's
That
amazing.
was, that was a big one. Well, let's talk about some of the, yeah, maybe on a little bit lighter subject. Some of your
Sure.
how you can how we can use this your knowledge and skills and ability in
Mhm.
interviewing. Uh, because I know that's an area that a lot of folks struggle with, whether they're interviewing for something or interviewing like this.
Mhm.
Just that have conversation with someone, but that I guess one on one
Uh-huh.
conversation.
the first thing I always like to do, if, and again, an interview tends to happen under a hierarchy, especially if it's a job interview. You have the person applying for the job down here and the person looking for it. So there's a hierarchy. If you're at the bottom of the hierarchy, I always love doing open source research, open source intel, you know. So you Google the person's name, you look at their LinkedIn file, you take notes based on everything you know about psychology and through like the 6 minute X-ray,
Oh, that's a good
and
one.
you try and get in their head just to understand the person. And the thing that has worked with me when I'm working one-on-one with clients is I have to realize I deeply care about this person. Even if I have to create it for that moment, and I know I'm not going to see him, you know, in ever again in next after 3 weeks of working together. I have to be with this person as if I deeply care about them. And what that does on my end is it makes me invested. It makes me make sure I give them my very best effort. Um, I don't have, I mean, again, it depends on your outcome in an interview, but I don't have a really strict formula. Um, I have
Well, you,
studied about police interrogation and interviews,
yeah,
and that's frightening stuff.
yeah. You did touch on something that is important, and that's having a planned outcome.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how much time do you spend on that? Let's say, if you're with a client or just in general,
Hmm.
and your everyday interactions.
Well, with a client, not entirely a whole lot. If, for example, I have their email address, I might do a Google search on it, see if I find their social media. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But again, it's just me trying to understand the person and where they're at. If I do find a Facebook page, I just note their family. Here's an interesting thing I learned from Facebook. If you meet a person on Facebook and the pictures are that of with, say, a man, if this is the person, and his wife, and you don't see any other family members, and the pictures of them embracing face to face and smiling at the camera, there's a high probability they're swingers
Yeah.
because
Oh man.
they're going to share that with other swingers. And it says, okay, these are the two people.
We, you know, I I love how you just brought this up. I've used some AI. I've used some of the
Mhm.
some information that I've gathered over the years and knowledge that I have. But I have pretty much built a uh, breakup prediction protocol for social media, and this is very high accuracy. I'll
Oh,
share it with
wow.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have tested it, and it's like wow, that and it is very accurate. I'll share this. I'll send it over to you. I'll
Okay,
share it with you.
let me pause. Let me interview you for a few moments. Have you ever shared this with anyone on your podcast?
This no, this is the first time I've only shared it
Okay.
with my significant other because I
Okay.
oh man, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I put it together and I had to show her because
Okay.
she's got to know everything. But I said, hey, I was kind of going through one of your friends' profiles that I'm
Mhm.
not friends with, and I said it's not going to last, and well, they're not together. And she was like, holy moly! So it's very accurate, and it
Wow.
has a lot to do with like proximity in pictures,
Yeah.
uh,
Hmm. Okay.
uh, positioning, the amount of posts that are being posted. So
Okay.
and I'll send it over to you and yeah, play around with it.
Okay.
But, it's very accurate and it's actually kind of sad. Like
Yeah.
I was telling Megan, I said, yeah, it's actually kind of sad that one that I put that together, but two that it's accurate and that this
Wow.
information is and it's information that's out there. Anyone can pull it.
Hmm.
I interjected a lot of not a lot, but I interjected some of the the things that I know to look for. But yeah, it's
Hmm.
I don't know. It was
Wow.
just kind of sad, but it's very accurate. I'll send it over. And
Put
yeah,
it in the show notes. People are going to be interested.
yeah, and it has a lot to do with language patterns,
Hmm.
and you can tell like pronoun usage. I know you talked about that earlier. It has a
Yeah.
lot to do with that. It has a lot to do with the like you can start to see in the post where they kind of separate. We talk about identity, so it goes from being a couple to now
Oh,
I'm alone and I can do this on my own. But as they're still together, so it actually predicts, like you can predict within days, weeks, months of a breakup. It's yeah, I can't wait to share.
man.
This is going to be the
Okay.
first time it goes live, but yeah,
Okay. Hey,
so,
thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. That's great.
yeah, yeah, I might be onto something here. I might be the most hated person on the internet, but it's all
Good
human beings.
information. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. It's good stuff. The oh man, there's just so much. You have no idea. I've been looking forward to this, so and I just
Well,
have so many
I'll
things.
tell you a good topic that I would love to sort of talk about
Yeah,
that I'm sure some people are curious about is who the hell is Dantalian Jones?
that I didn't know if I was allowed to ask that or not,
Of
but
course.
I mentioned
Yes.
it in my post how you wrote under a pseudonym. So
Yeah. Yeah. So this goes back, let's see, I think I started writing in 2006, five, 5 or 6. Yeah. And so I was not in a good relationship at this time. And not being in a good relationship, I got a lot of judgment and a lot of criticism. And my deep curiosity about how the mind worked was not really accepted very well. And so I went entirely in the opposite direction to create this character, Dantalian Jones, who was this, hang on just a second, who was this dark, mysterious figure who was completely absorbed with the thoughts of mind control. And so the phrase, the name Dantalian, I was looking through a what's it's called the Ars Goetia. It's a magical text that was published in about the 14th, 15th, I don't know, 15th century.
and
And it
what was the
has
name of that? What was that again?
Ars, ARS is the first,
Yeah.
Goetia, Goetia. And what it has a list of 72 spirits, demons, each of which were controlled allegedly by Solomon to help build his temple. And each of these spirits, each of these demons have qualities and characters. And I came across, of these 72, I came across, when I reached the 71st one, it was the name Dantalian. And the Dantalian is this is seen in human form, but face is always changing, so it never stays solid. He teaches art and literature and science, and he influences people at the will of the magician who controls them. I thought, oh, and Dantalian is a cool name, so uh, I thought that's a good one. I'll take that one on, and so I created Dantalian Jones. And so I had, once I created this character, this persona, this facade, I could play it up in all my writing. And that's where you get all this sort of deep, sarcastic cult references and how to
So there's
manipulate people and things like that. Yeah. But what I also found is, once you get in better relationships, that facade is no longer necessary. So um,
yeah, true. Yeah,
and there's something really useful about creating a persona, especially if it's a persona that has qualities you don't have yet. You can think of for it would be, and I there have been people who have conned other people out of a whole bunch of different things by just saying they're someone else, and that
Mhm.
and they bring this authority with them. Like I'm the son of Don DeLuise. That was the guy who actually did this. I'm the son of a great actor, and he conned a whole bunch of people out of things. But you don't have to tell people. You just have to create this persona in your mind and start acting it. And it becomes very useful because you're creating this persona that has skills that you don't yet fully have, but you're moving through the world as though you have these skills and learning from it. And so you start to, as you actually begin to study these skills of influence, for example, and you create this um, Pierce Resden, whatever the character
Uh,
in
Phrase 7.
yeah, phrase
Yeah.
seven is you create this character that has gone through this life experience and has gained these skills and can sort of personify this sense of control, this feeling of confidence, this sense of leadership, and has all of these skills that he's learned. And so while you're personifying this fictional character and you're studying it, you're sort of creating a much easier template for it to integrate. And you do that enough times, you realize, okay, I don't need this character anymore.
I
It
like,
just becomes useful.
do you think, do you think that's kind of like borrowing authority, like an
Yeah.
agent using the
Yeah.
persona?
Stolen valor. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
But I like that though. I like that, and I can look back and see at times in my life where I've done that. Um, and I think we also know it as kind of like not giving yourself permission yet, or giving yourself permission to be something. And
Hmm.
I think I live that even to this day right now. I know that I have a lot of skill and ability, but yet I feel like I'm brand new to the scene. And here I'm talking to you, like I said earlier, I'm master in the craft. And you're like, no one's a master yet. And I'm like, but to me, you are. But I feel like that every day. And maybe it's a little imposter syndrome or not permission yet, but that how you describe that was very beneficial, not to me, but whoever's going to listen. But I think
Yeah.
using some of that agenda shift to borrow some of that to build towards it. Um, I like
Hey,
that a
well,
lot.
Keith, for what it's worth, I'm still this guy who's trying to fake it all the way through, and I'm being on this important podcast. So everything you're feeling, I'm feeling just as easily. So it's really
Yeah,
weird. You say all those things, and I'm going, geez, that's exactly where I'm at too.
and yeah. So we're both there together then.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you were saying then with that agenda shift and that borrowed authority.
Hmm.
Um, how important is authority to confidence? What do you think about that?
Uh, I go back to I go back. Confidence is really about having your shit together and taking care of it. Authority, leadership. Again, I have to go back to Chase Hughes and everything he's taught about that. You develop, you work really hard at being the person that you want to be when no one's looking.
Yeah,
And that alone is going to give you a sense of authority and that feeling of composure where you're not trying to puff your chest out and be bigger than anyone else, and you're not trying to shrink so that everyone else feels safe around you. You're just present. And if you live your life trying to get your poop scooped together in the same backpack and carry it with you everywhere you go, uh, you you demonstrate this calm sort of presence that people will want to follow.
yeah,
And that's real authority. But it's a continuous work in progress, always.
yeah. Well said. Yeah. That that being present, that's a tough one. That's a tough one sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
The
For me, I mean, I mean, for me, being present is really about if I'm with somebody, looking at that person with affection and as a human being, someone who's was a child who suffered, who wanted uh, love, affection, and attention, and grew up to be a human being, and so they're carrying all this with them. Uh, that helps being present. Um, so that's how I do it.
Like and we've gone deep here. We got some heavy stuff. So there was one of the things that I know a little bit about, but that it's pretty important is the pattern interruption. And
Yes.
I you wrote about the tilted register, and I read that I read that to my son often because it's such a neat
Yeah.
and actual applicable
Yeah,
skill.
if you can just for a moment have the person, like here's the one. I have not done
But
this.
but I'm not
Okay.
encouraging anyone to do this. If you read this, I'm not encouraging it because there's a lot of CCTV right
That's
now.
right.
but
I
but
I
I
have
just
run this through my mind. Okay. And so let's say you go, this is my version of how maybe you can get a free coffee. Okay. You go up to order your coffee, and before the barista pushes the money in, you say a confusion statement and follow it up. You say something like, how different would it be if the same thing starting now didn't change, even though everyone else really did? So, for example, you've given me your change, and now you point to where the coffee and the creamer and the sugar is. I don't even know where to look. Where would you point? And they point, and you go, thank you so much. That was great. And you
I,
head there. So
that's
I just go over there. I go there. Yeah. Yeah.
I know how smooth that one is. That's good. I
Yeah.
never thought
So
I was
the
challenged by
presupposition, of course, if you make that confusion statement and you say, you've given me my change. So that means we've had the money transaction already take
it's
place.
already happened. Yep.
And then you shift their awareness to what would normally be taking place.
Yeah,
And
that's
again,
said every
I've not tried that.
well, I was challenged by Chase in the group to get a free coffee from Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I'm in my living room now, but in my office I have the cup from Starbucks that I got. And I
Yeah.
so yeah, I had when I went back, I got back in my car and I sent him a message. I'm like, you're not gonna believe it, but I did it. I was like a little kid on Christmas. He's like, great job, man. I just
Oh my God.
basically
When you have those little victories, it's like
I
you
was like,
never
wait a
forget
minute.
them.
I was like, I just walked out of Starbucks and didn't have to pay for a coffee. That's kind of, but
Yeah.
I was excited about it. And I think to most people, when they hear this, they're watching this and they're like, there's no, what? You can't just walk in and make people do these things or not do these things. And
Hmm.
yeah, you actually can. And that's what we were talking about earlier. That's that everyday stuff that you're just being influenced all day, every day. And
Hmm.
that pattern interruption is a good way
Right.
to slide some of that stuff in there, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you have them just, the door is only open for about a second and a half, but once that door
Yeah,
is open, you just put that in there and then
it's go time.
go time. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's go time. Yeah, that's the scary stuff because
Hmm.
that's actually a good transition. But that's the kind of the scary stuff that again you can I know you use it for a lot of change, positive change in people's lives, and most of the folks that we know are also doing it
Hmm.
for positive. And then although there's a lot of folks throughout history that have done it or used these same techniques, very negative outcomes. Kind of transition. And now, I know like the cults. Cults are
Yeah.
big, and it seems like they're in mainstream right now and popular with documentaries and all these podcast guests. And
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about how they can influence, or how they influence.
Yeah. Um, Cults, people become much more susceptible to cults during challenging times. And this is a very challenging time if you're not aware of it. So
Yeah.
it's really easy for cults to sort of take hold. And consider for a moment what a cult does. It provides simple answers to complex questions. It provides a sense of tribe, and provides a sense of security. And so typically, a cult would recruit someone who's in a transitional state. Maybe they are failing at their grades, or they've broken up or lost a family member, or something like that, and provide, again, simple answers to complex questions, a sense of community, a feeling of tribe, and a safety. And all you have to do is get the foot in there just a little bit and give them a bunch of love bombing. And from that point on, that's all they're looking for. And what's weird about most cults is when someone's in a cult and has been love bombed, that's about the last time they've ever been love bombed. They're just always reaching for it. Or they may just get a little of it or a little hope of it. But once you give them this incredible sense of acceptance and love, they just continue to want that. And it's, yeah, it's uncomfortable to see how easily people can be manipulated. One of my favorite channels on YouTube is Cults to Consciousness.
I'll
And
have to
it's,
write that down.
yeah, Cults to Consciousness. Celeste Anthera, I think her name is. She's a former Mormon, but she interviews everybody. She interviews people who
Hmm.
were Amish, uh, former Islamic, people who were trafficked in yoga cults as sex slaves, people who were in meditation cults and things like that, and how they were influenced and abused. And it's all the same story. It's just so weird. Everyone has
Yeah,
the same story.
you mentioned the yoga, and I didn't realize that that was a thing either.
Yeah.
Until I was speaking with another gentleman who is considered an expert on cults and profiling them, and yeah, he pointed that out to me, and I started reading the profiles he has. I was like, what? But
Wow.
you're right; it's kind of all the same. You know, it's yeah, it's
And it starts by creating a sense of community. And keep in mind, to to create, if you're in a society where there's a conflict, where you do not trust the other person, and the other person could be anybody. It could be
yeah,
a political party, it could be someone who's not of your ethnicity or not of your religious. As long as you have that, when you bring people in with a simple solution, and you can create a community around that. Um, and uh, again, you have to be aware of it. No one is immune to this.
yeah.
Nobody.
That's I've learned that. Yeah, I think the folks that get into this and they want to know more about it and learn it, they feel like that's going to give them a shield, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
It actually
Yeah.
makes it almost easier to be manipulated, because you're always thinking about it and you're always looking for it,
Hmm.
and you can it can bypass some of the
One of
critical.
the exactly one of the ladies who talks about cults, and she escaped it. It says, even though you know about this, you do not want to enter into a cult as a reporter or a researcher so you can come out later, because it's
Yeah,
very unlikely you're going to come out like you think you're going
the,
to come out anyway.
yeah, it's so powerful.
Yeah, it's that powerful. They have got the science down to influence people so well. It's not likely you're going to be immune to it.
Yeah, and that's how it's so scary, so scary.
Yeah.
The yeah, and that ties into the identity and the belief system
Yeah.
and all of that. Yeah, it's what oh man,
You
that
know,
is, Go ahead.
Identity is another thing that cults provide.
Yeah.
Ask every devout Mormon or former Mormon, ask every devout Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventist, if they were in the true religion. And of course, they were all in the true religion. It was all a
Yeah.
different religion, though. So they feel so grateful that they will tell you, I felt so grateful to be born in the one real true religion. Okay, good.
My family's from like Southern West Virginia and the Bible Belt, Appalachia,
Uh-huh.
and
Oh
I
yeah,
think I don't I believe that there's only a handful, maybe four, five, six of these churches left, Pentecostal churches that actually handle snakes,
right, right.
and they're kind of all in that Southern West Virginia area down there. And I can remember being little, going to these, like we'd go visit family, and we weren't really like diehard uh, like spiritual or religious family at all, but we would go visit family. And then I can remember being little, going to this church. They're speaking in tongues and seeing this stuff, and I'm like, "What is happening?" Like I didn't want nothing to do with it. It turned to me the opposite direction. I'm like, "Nope, I'm out."
Oh yeah.
Uh, you have to, yeah. We're talking about just how the being down there and those Pentecostal churches handling snakes and speaking in tongues just turned me away from religion.
Oh, it's
But
crazy. Yeah.
as I got older and I started, I went to school for psychology, and like you're just starting to learn, you get more and more, and you're starting to understand the world around you and people. And I think back and I'm like, man, that's kind of like little mini cults down there because they don't.
Yeah.
You go when you go and listen to them, and then you can watch YouTube videos of these
Mhm.
folks now. They are die hard. They're locked in,
Oh
stone
yeah.
cold believers, and they don't venture out of anything else. And I'm like, yeah, they're a little in it right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and you're not
Well,
you're not
I
getting them
have
out.
no. I have my own personal cult experience. Way back in the 80s, there was a what's it called? It's called a large group, gosh, an LGAT, a large group awareness training.
Oh, that's
And
Nexium.
yeah,
The Nexium.
Nexium was one of them.
Yeah,
Est Forum. This one was called,
yeah.
there was one called Life Spring. This one, the one I was part was called Life Stream. But you get a bunch of people together and you uh, have you create this bond and you create this peak experience. And I the and they had two different levels. One was just the introductory level, which was Thursday, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And it was really dramatic. And so it made you want more. And so they had the intensive version, which was a whole week of sleep deprivation and uh, you, they gave you assignments that you had to finish, writing assignments to, what would you call it? You have to talk about all of your failings.
Hmm.
And it was, and I was in my mid late 20s and deeply wanted to be a part of some sort of special movement. So I was ripe for them.
You were right for the picking.
Yeah,
Did,
absolutely. And
were they? Were you looking back? Were they using sleep deprivation as a technique, or just because that was just happening? Because
it
we,
was just part of, I don't think they
yeah,
were it was a technique, but I don't
yeah,
think they were using it as a technique
okay,
because they were alleging that if you do these exercise, if you participate fully, this is going to give you energy.
ah,
But then after 4 days, you're floating a little bit further away from your body every moment, and there's like all the sleep deprivation symptoms are starting to show up, and you're not feeling emotions like you usually feel, and you're moving through water. Uh, but yeah, that's how they justified the sleep deprivation.
yeah,
And
sleep
of course, they
deprivation.
would also, yeah, they would ask you to um, write down all of your issues, and then they would publicly a public humiliation sort of process. These are the things you have to
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
some, I mean, the basic one, which was the weekend one, was really positive, but the intensive one was just felt abusive, and it really injured me for a while. So, but in fact, I will attribute part of that for my writing about cults because it gave me such a bad experience. I started to sort of think about it and wanted to see how I could articulate it. So I
Yeah.
definitely it was a motivation for me.
Yeah. There's a lot out there right now that's just hitting
Hmm.
a lot of, a lot of stuff that people are bringing forward, ex cult members and things
Hmm.
like that. And you're right, though. It all starts out kind of the same way, like you said, just somebody ripe for the picking, just wanted to feel a part of something. Uh,
Yeah.
do you? I know there's some research out there about people that are more suggestible,
Hmm.
and Chase talks about like the low ocular tension folks that have very
Hmm.
smooth underlying, eyelid under there. And if you look at some of the Manson family members, they had very low ocular tension. And I
Oh
know that
yeah, yeah.
there's some famous stage hypnosis that talk about looking for folks in the crowd that have
Hmm.
that. What is your take on some of these maybe more suggestible signs in people?
Well, I mean, I definitely if I see someone who has the smooth eye under eyelids, always a plus. But I always make a point of making sure I do all the other things that are necessary, create a sense of expectation, make sure I have them focus and feel this and create a sense of openness and connection. And just those alone are going to make them much more suggestible. But you can't. The only thing as far as when I'm working with a client to help them become more suggestible is I have to give them instructions on what it means. I have a I'll tell you what I write down in order to give them that sense, that instruction. Oh, yeah, and there's something else I wanted to mention before long. Okay, here we go. So one of the things let's see, got it right here. So giving clear instructions. So uh, when I'm giving someone instructions about hypnosis, I'll precede the actual beginning of the hypnosis by telling them all you have to do is follow my instructions, and that simply means when I tell you to focus on something, completely focus. Don't think about it. Don't hesitate. Don't even wonder if you're doing it right. And when I ask you to imagine something, imagine as though it's absolutely real. And so those are the basic instructions that I give people. And that's clear enough. Again, uh, that's clear enough that if they follow it, they're going to get a good result. But getting them to comply isn't just about that single suggestibility. It's about creating connection, sense of openness, and a really strong feeling of expectancy.
And I've also heard folks talk about a yes set. Is that?
Oh, yeah, yeah. If you can get someone to agree about a bunch of different things, is this exciting? Yeah, it is exciting. I I don't personally use it, but I remember me talking to a Yelp, someone on Yelp who was trying to sell me the Yelp membership. For 45 minutes, she had me do nothing but yeses. Would you agree that this
Oh,
is true? Would you agree that this is true? And just walk me through it for 45 minutes. Now, I knew what was going on. And so at the end, we said, okay, all I need to do is just read off your card number. I stopped it right there. I said, no, you don't understand what's going on. I promised my wife I wasn't going to invest in Yelp. So,
I mean,
but
45 minutes of a
she
yes
was
set. That's a
very
long.
good. That's a long. yes set. And how Yelp, I mean, they are trained very well. They have you go through one web page after another, and then they ask you, would you agree that this would help you? And you're just nodding your head all the way.
The I don't know where I heard it, but it might have, but they were talking about how the I believe the Mormons when they're on the like telemarketers are very they have a very high closing
Hmm.
rate
Hmm.
because it's their belief system to just keep going there. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I just know that they were associated with telemarketers and very high percentage of closing
Yeah,
rate.
yeah, yeah. Mormons make up a high percentage of the CIA too. Uh,
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's I didn't know
Good
if we wanted to
linguistic
go.
skills, good sense of purpose, good
Yeah,
sense of discipline. Yeah. So yeah.
yeah. I didn't know if we wanted to go there or not, but I know that they some of those agencies fund some of them apartments and stuff they live in out there in Utah, and they're involved. They're all tied together. You know,
Yeah, I am not surprised. I mean, I've heard some
the more
people uh, I heard some people talk about that the CIA has to create these sort of companies that
yep.
they can funnel their various agents and operatives to. And it just so happens these companies end up making a lot of money. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that just goes back to the agency.
Oh yeah,
Um,
the I'd say maybe less than an hour from where I'm at right now is where
oh yeah.
their money funnels through.
Yeah.
Right
It's
up the
impressive.
street. So
Yeah.
yeah, not far at all. Not far at all. The oh, the it's just to the cult thing just to kind of wrap it all up because it's
Hmm.
deep and it can be dark and just talking about religion and everything. Uh, do and this is a question I ask all the time because I believe that they are being somewhat taken advantage of. I know that they're there and a lot of them feel good about themselves and being helped. But do you, or have you seen or maybe even worked with any of these leaders in that community and they're using these, I think we know they're using some kind of techniques or they're using something, but do you think
Yeah.
there's a checklist? Or do you think they spend that much time on it, or are they just truly bringing in people that are that suggestible? I guess is it just is it a Dunning-Kruger, or is it real that they're actual operatives? Like they're operating at that level.
So you're asking me if people who are running these cults are working intentionally uh, to recruit. Well,
Yeah,
first
yeah,
of all, I think they're highly motivated. That's the very first thing. They truly believe in it. And they have developed a process with with good intentions that is very effective. So they're not looking at other people as, you know, uh, fodder for the stove. They're looking at people as souls to save. And so they're very
yeah,
sincere about it. Um, I, you know, there are some people who, recruit for become porn stars, hey,
yeah, yeah,
and they have a process. They have a process that they go through. Um, so they're slightly different, but for the most part, most cults uh, are I mean, cult leaders at least. Most of them are sincere in their belief. I would think so, but no, I
yeah.
haven't talked with them personally. They sort of give me the willies. So,
There are
it's not. I not really, don't really want to.
Yeah, I do believe. I think it kind of starts out where they do believe they're trying to do something. Well, they believe it at least, no matter what it looks like to the outside world.
Yeah,
Again, that belief system, they an identity. They have to believe they're doing something.
yeah.
And then I think they all turn into something else, maybe
Hmm.
just to start, maybe that foot in the door kind of thing.
Right.
But
Something. I'm gonna switch subjects just
yeah,
ever so slightly. Something I have, which I have a group of people who have shown an interest in hypnosis. And so they've reached out to me. And what I've done, at least up to this point, is I have developed an operations manual for my hypnosis business. And it's entirely for me. And it tells me every standard operating procedure, including the sessions and intake and things like that. And I do make this available to anyone who asks me. So I don't charge them yet, but I do ask that I talk with them, that I sort of vet with them. Sometimes if they feel grateful, I'll send them my Amazon wish list and they can reciprocate that way.
Yeah.
But that's available to anyone who is really interested in sort of building their own hypnosis practice. And I'm happy to sort of encourage them in
Oh,
that
that is
direction.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of hypnotists in this community there. That was going to be one of the things I asked about, you for beginners, what do you recommend? And that sounds perfect. Just kind of how to get started and
Honestly, the best thing I can tell people is learn one hypnosis trick. I don't care, just any hypnosis trick. Go to YouTube, find someone doing a rapid induction, and then follow it up by building confidence or something like that.
yeah.
And just
I know.
use it. Just
Yeah.
hammer away. Every human being you see is a hypnosis subject. You're just getting ready to hypnotize.
The one of the ones that helped me and helped build my confidence was the eye fixation and understanding about the eyes being above the brow and how it induces the
Hmm.
muscle fatigue.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable with that. I use that a lot. Just if someone threw me at, like, okay, you're talking about hypnosis, let me see.
Hmm.
Go right to eye fixation and
Hmm.
I go that way, and then I just talk. So
Yeah.
I am nowhere near as, as qualified as you or most people I talk to, but I understand enough to where I can
Yeah.
be just a little bit
That's good.
dangerous, as Chase would say.
Well, the one I use, I have a whole process. It's part of the operations manual I have, but the one I use has a little bit of entrainment. So I'll tell them to close their eyes for a moment and then have them look to the right, then look to the left, then look down, and then look up with their eyes closed. And as their eyes are looking and gazing upward, I'll tell them to imagine their eyes are locked together and sealed tightly shut. And it just so happens if you close your eyes and you keep your eyes looking upward, there's a little short circuit in being able to open eyes. You have to lower your eyes down or do
Hmm.
something in order to open your eyes. And so I've entrained them by moving their eyes back and forth,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
tell them your eyes are locked tightly shut, and I have them test it, and then it's a rapid induction. I tell them sleep. So yeah, I use that as well.
I like that. What is what are some of the myths about hypnosis that you can help kind of bust?
Well, a lot of people, I always ask people who are doing hypnosis for first time, I'll ask them, we all come with conceptions and sometimes even misconceptions about hypnosis. So what do you imagine it's like to be hypnotized? And there are a couple things that sometimes they state and then sometimes they have to clear up. Some people feel like they're going to be simply turned off. It's like, this is not hypnosis, this is anesthesiology. You're going to
Hmm.
say sleep, and I'm going to be under, and there'll be no awareness whatsoever. And that is not the case. Okay. I will be giving you instructions, and you have to be aware enough to hear my voice and to follow the instructions and even nod your head if I ask you to. So you will be able to feel it. Some people feel they won't have any memory, and occasionally that happens, not often. Um, but that is a result of being so intensely focused that you create no perception of time. And so if you don't have any perception of time, there's no time to store a memory in.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's typically how that happens. But again, it doesn't happen very often. Um, So other myths that it's mind control, it's like I said, it's sort of mind control, but you have to consent to it. I'll tell you what to focus on,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you how to focus on it. Your job is follow instructions, and you want a result. So that's why I'm here. Let's see, misconceptions. I don't know, the whole bunch. Um, Not remembering. Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Even though I'll tell somebody, you're going to be aware of my voice, I still occasionally get people saying, I don't know if I was hypnotized because I heard every word you said. And I said, well, I hope so. You you're supposed to follow instructions. You have to be able to hear them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, even though they'll say those words, they're still going to get the result. I'll say, try to want a cigarette. And they'll be sitting there going, well, I don't want a cigarette. I'm going, yeah, I know you don't, but try. And they can't even bring up the craving or the want of a cigarette. So, and again, I'll remind them, the actual experience of being hypnotized is going to vary from person to person. But I measure hypnosis not by what you experience, I measure it by the results. Because that's what people are paying me for, to get the result.
You got to switch over to my.
Yep.
I don't know why they're.
There we go.
I don't think they switched over. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you. I'm not sure if you're hearing from the
Okay,
microphone. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess one of the other things too is people always ask, do you stay under hypnosis? Can you get stuck in it?
Oh, right. And I will tell them, if I were to get you in deep hypnosis, really deep hypnosis, and leave the room, you would simply go to sleep and wake up after a while. Once you got enough rest, you'd wake up, or you'd be realizing he hasn't said anything. What's going on? And then you'd sort of wake yourself up. Yeah.
The what are I don't want to. It's been good. I've enjoyed every minute of this.
Yeah, this is fun.
What is I don't know. What is something that I wouldn't know if I didn't ask you? What?
Okay. What's the weirdest hypnosis experience I've had?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. What is it? Yeah.
I've been doing this a while, so there are several, but the one that always comes to mind is a woman who called me and said, I am married and my husband and I have a really great relationship, but I miss all the sexual attraction stuff when I was young, when we were younger. I said, yeah, I can help you with that. And so we did this through Zoom. Okay. So, and the typical process that I go through is I have them imagine the symbol for a feeling first. And the symbol for that I wanted her to create was the symbol in her mind for the feeling of love, the feeling of connection, the feeling of deep attraction and arousal. And imagine this feeling. And then once she has it, I have her in hypnosis, bring it into her body and fill all her body with this feeling. And the moment I did that, her face started to turn pink and sweat would bead on her forehead and her respiration got really sort of deep. And I'm thinking, okay, something's really happening here. And I just said,
right.
And of course, all I did is associate that with her husband. Every time you're in a public place and you see your husband, you remember this feeling and it builds.
Oh man.
Every time when you're alone, you have this opportunity to act on it. And so that was the first session. And the second session, she just said, I'm so glad my husband's self-employed because he comes home for lunch. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
But
That's all.
I I got it. The thing is, I got have to give her incredible credit because she did two things that is really just strong and profound. She actually decided to reach out to a hypnotist for this one thing. She did that, and I'm impressed.
Yeah.
And then she told her friends about it. No, I never.
That's.
She was just saying, "Yeah, I saw a hypnotist, and he made me really horny."
I
I
was
don't
going to
know
say
how
that's the
that
best
goes.
testimonial you can have. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
So
going to put that in
that's
the caption. I seen a hypnotist and it made me so horny. Boom.
and then a couple of hypnosis. I've had a couple of alien abduction hypnosis
Oh, that's
sessions.
interesting. We didn't even get into aliens. There we go.
Yeah, well, uh, only one of them was. Let's see. There were two that were really dramatic. The most dramatic one was this lady who told me about an event. Her and her husband have this house, and then the house has um, a porch on it out of the bedroom.
Hmm.
And what she remembers is that her husband said, "Come look at this." It was at night. And she walked out and she saw a light in the sky. And then next thing they were going to bed. And she said something weird happened because I don't know what happened between those times. That was maybe, and it was about a 45-minute time. And my process was I hadn't done this before. My process was pretty simple. We got her in hypnosis, and I just simply I had her relive the experience in hypnosis, and that blank time of memory was there. And then I instructed the subconscious mind to remove any memory blocks to bring back
Hmm.
full memory. That's all I did. And I said, now go through the process. And it was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And she talked about being brought onto the whatever this craft
Oh,
was and
wow.
meeting these beings, most of them really attractive humans,
Hmm.
and having some interaction with it, and then coming back with the realization, oh my goodness, this has happened more than once in my life. Uh,
Wow.
now,
Hmm.
here's the caveat from that. I was not able to see her a second time, so this was just from one experience. And
Goodness.
what
I
was
wonder.
interesting is when she talks about her husband about those events, he is completely closed off. He doesn't want to talk about it. He has strong aversion to even going to that moment. Um,
I wonder
and
why.
it's interesting if you go back to Betty and Barney Hill, who were the
Yeah.
first alien abductions documented. It was
Yeah.
this,
They
it
were.
was much the same thing. He had a really strong aversion and fear of what he was experiencing, but she wasn't. She didn't have that. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been. I mean, anytime you bring that stuff up, you're always going to get, you know, backlash from somewhere. Oh, this guy, you're
Yeah.
crazy, or you're this, or you're that. So I could, yeah.
And the other times I've been asked to do this was a lady who was a friend of mine said she had some experience in high school where her and a boy she was dating were gonna go park and smoke a joint, and all of a sudden time stopped and they come back and the joint has not been lit.
Oh shit.
Um, but I had no we didn't get anything out of that experience. So whatever happened, we couldn't recover it. And the only other time I worked with somebody like that, it's dubious about their experiences because he admitted that he and his friend went to this place and saw this thing, but they had also just taken a bunch of LSD.
Oof. Yeah,
So
that'll get you.
uh, that'll augment and change some of your perceptions. But he was pretty certain that that was a real thing, and he had some recovery of some memories from that. But
Have you
it was like Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I was just going to
Uh,
say they were close to a military base, and so
no.
he had an awareness of some people actually coming up and interacting with them.
Yeah, that seems to be a thing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's you brought up LSD and some psychedelics. Have you seen that the Dan was his where he's doing the DMT, looking through the
Dan,
laser
Danny Go,
and
yeah.
seeing, yeah, yeah,
That's
that is,
freaky. I have yet
yeah,
to do that. So
no, yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't even know what to
it's
say
a,
about it because it just he's looking through the laser and he's like the code is just going.
well, and how he describes it, I can imagine it because
Yeah,
I've had my experience with
he
things like
he was
mushrooms and stuff like that. But
yeah he was in the basement of somebody you and I both know. You know,
hmm hmm
he got to, and you know, he was explaining it to us too, and just it was mind blowing, profound, and
yeah. Well, the unique thing about something like that is it makes you humble. You think you go in with some understanding, you realize no, you
yeah,
don't know. You just don't know what's going on.
you
And
don't, and I don't think any of us do, but and that's the other thing, you know, the folks that are running around pretending like they do know, I think they
mhm.
might be worse off than anybody because you're just
Yeah,
you're
they don't think
closed
they need
off.
the antivirus software in their mind. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you need everything you can get. Yeah,
Now, and that sense of self-doubt, I think is really important. Yeah, that person that we both know that we've talked about, he has said the best thing you can do is just assume, first of all, everything is some manipulation. Everything is probably some psyop.
yep,
It's just going to keep you safer. It
yeah,
doesn't make you paranoid, and you don't know. Uh, but there's to be so vain and arrogant to assume you know something uh, just puts up a wall, and
yeah,
it prevents you from experiencing a childlike sense of wonder.
yeah. The curiosity and wondering is huge for me. I love just thinking and wondering and being curious.
Hmm
But you know, but going back to just that block or having the information, you know,
Yeah.
I share a lot of my information with my family, the closest to me, and
hmm
I tell them, I say I remember maybe 10, 15 years ago wondering what it would be like to have some type of superpower or information or something that no one else has. What would you do with it?
hmm
And here I am today with a lot of information, and I know a lot of people that have a lot of information, and we
Yeah.
talk privately. And I do have information and I do have abilities. And I'm like, you know what? I just, I'm okay with talking about things and I'll share
Yeah.
information, but I don't think I feel any different today than I did then having the
Yeah.
information because no matter what information I have, the rest of the world is running on their own system. And those people are
Yeah.
going to believe or not believe or hear and see things. And like you said, it's everything's a psyop. That's all
hmm
you need to know. So
Yeah.
that it's
What?
made me, it's taken away a lot of my anxiety and it's made me feel a lot lighter. And it's
hmm
actually, it's helped me in enjoying life more,
Yeah.
knowing that because now I don't feel like I have to compete with anything because I'm like, it's all BS out there
Right.
anyways. So,
What's interesting is it made me think about when I was learning all these influence skills and neurolinguistic programming and things like that. And I got the realization that it's sort of like if you're in Hogwarts, Harry Potter's magic school. What you're trying to learn are
yeah,
magical spells to change people.
yeah,
But that's just sophomore level stuff. The actual really best magicians are the ones that uses the only the least amount of magic, and they never use any more magic than is necessary.
so
So
true.
think of that when you're influencing somebody. I mean, you can do embedded commands, you can
Yeah,
do gestural hemispheric changes and things like that. But all you need to do is, I mean, yeah, you have to have a huge amount of experience to know, but you can, in a conversation, just sort of change somebody and they don't even know it. That's real magic.
Yeah. Yeah. That
And you
is,
don't have to tell them either.
no, it can be their idea, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It's even better that way.
Yeah, they own it then.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I've had you, I've kept you for a good amount of time, and I appreciate it. Is there anything else that I've missed that you want to cover, or any other topic? I can
No,
talk forever. And
well, I could talk for the remainder of what's left of
yeah.
this hour as well if
Oh,
you want.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, for sure. But yeah, is there anything, maybe we, I know we've talked a little bit about hypnosis in your private practice. Is there
Hmm.
anything about your business or your books you want to talk about, and we can,
Well,
we can do a shameless plug, because again,
well,
I have a lot of respect for you, and I know you're one
oh,
of the
thanks.
best. So anybody that's listening, you're definitely one of the go-to. So
One of the things I am doing every Friday, in fact, it's every Friday, the hour before Chase Hughes has his YouTube
so he
broadcast.
he does 6 p.m. Eastern time, right?
Yeah. And I do
Yeah.
5 p.m. Eastern time. I have
Okay.
a small group of hypnotists that get together and uh, I record it. I usually have a topic. We have a discussion around it. And I will end up airing it on my YouTube channel, which is David Barron, hypnotist. If you find that, it's there in the hypnosis discussion playlist. So that's there. Anyone's invited, and all they have to do is
Cool.
contact me, and I'll send them uh,
Okay.
a link, and we'll go from there. So I think that's of value to people. I'm trying to get enough so that I can actually start taking on advertising and getting funds
Yeah.
from
Oh,
YouTube. But
I'll check it out for sure.
yeah, absolutely. All right, and
Cool.
and I've also recently decided that recently decided to record hypnosis audios and videos just to hand out there. And I'm some of them I'm very impressed with. Some of them are pretty good and useful.
Yeah.
I think
I,
I mentioned earlier I transcribed one and then read the transcript, and it's sort of like, oh my God, this is better than I thought. And it was all about letting go, and I sort of closed it up by reminding people, you were born perfect. You were born a
yeah.
perfect person. And then you started in life and you took on beliefs and behaviors and burdens and addictions and cravings and wants. But you were born perfect. And perfection's not achieved when there's nothing more to add. It's achieved when there's nothing more to take away. And so just start letting go. Just let go.
I like that.
And when,
That's a big one.
yeah, yeah. And that's essentially what we're trying to do when we're helping people is find those things that aren't necessary anymore and clean it up.
Yeah. I think one of the what I've come across is when when you say, just got to let it go. I think sometimes, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but sometimes the expectation is that it's actually supposed to just go away and you never think about it again.
Mhm.
And it's maybe helping them understand that no, it's still going to be there, but it doesn't have the impact on you, or it
Yeah.
doesn't have the emotional connection, or it just doesn't have any value anymore. It's just there because it's always going to be there, but
Hmm.
yet it's not driving some of those unconscious
Yeah.
decisions and stuff that we're not aware of yet.
And when it shows up, you say, okay, yes, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm not going to respond like that, like I used to. It's not important
yeah,
anymore. Yeah. And the hypnosis process that I developed was really just about the whole topic of letting go. It's really about, if you have this experience, and all of us had, where you're carrying a heavy bag of groceries and you put them down, there's a feeling of relief. And it feels so good. And so we just start focusing on that feeling of letting go and repeat it, and then think of all the things that we're hanging on to and feeling the relief, letting go of that.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh, and there's something else. I think we can close with this if you want,
Yeah.
which is the amazing thing about people who see themselves as lucky is they will have in their mind sort of this unbending belief. And the belief is that something wonderful is about to happen. And they have no idea what it is. And just consider that for a moment. If you held on to this belief, something wonderful is about to happen. If you consider what that does to your awareness, the chatter in your mind stops. You begin to focus outside of yourself, and your whole periphery, your field of vision even opens up. And now you start looking for the next wonderful thing, and it could be anything. And I mean anything. It could be the smell of a flower. It could be a breeze that hits your face, or it could be that $100 bill. But your whole ability to find something wonderful comes alive. And so someone who does this, they naturally feel like they're lucky because that's all they see is wonderful things happening. It's like, oh, this is great. So anyone who wants to start practicing this is going to start noticing a shift in their awareness, and it's pretty enjoyable.
Yeah. It feels good just to hear it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
It does. I think I tranced out there for a second. It feels good. Yeah. Just to hear it.
Yeah.
And again, go ahead.
Just say those words and
Yeah.
remind yourself something wonderful is about to happen, and just notice what that does to your attention.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good stuff, man. This has been awesome. It's been awesome,
I
David.
want to thank you so much. It's been great working with you. You obviously have been working really hard, and you reach a lot of people, and so I appreciate the impact you're making.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best.
As am I.
Yeah, like we all are. And yeah, I don't want to keep you anymore today. And I hopefully we get to talk again.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I'll be on it in a split second. So let me know.
yeah, yeah. Again, I thank you so much. And I was a fan for a long time. I think it was a long time listener, first time caller. And but I truly want you to know that there's other folks out there that are huge fans of you too. Not
Cool.
only inside of Chase's group, outside of that. And when I did my research the last couple of years, there's a lot of big fans, and I've read a lot of your comments and stuff, and you're making a huge impact. And that is something that when I say master, like you are someone who's mastered the craft, and I have so much respect for that. And that's my goal too, is to continue on that journey of mastering my craft of just human behavior. And I look up to
Very
you
good.
and all the others. So, David, thank you so much. Like, yeah, it's been
Well,
great.
Keith,
Thank you.
honest, it's been great. Thank you so much.